So, hi, it's the 1st of September and it's 97 degrees and the heat index is 107. So, once again, I have made the incredibly wise decision to get away from that cool air conditioning and come outside to a lake. So, we're out here again. We're going to do another night shot, I think. That's the attempt anyway. I mean, my idea was, here comes some boats. My idea was to find a structure. I don't usually include a lot of structures, but to find a structure like a duck blind that may have some cypress trees around it and do a little night painting with the drone. So that's what I'm looking for. I don't even know where this is going to be. I have a couple of ideas of where to start. The problem is the further away you get from the dock, the farther you have to go at night in the dark to get back. So there's that. Here come those boats. So we're going to go right now and see if we can find us a place and maybe anchor down and wait for darkness to hit and see what we can come up with. So here we go. Okay, so we really haven't been going that long. There's still light out here. I'm actually in an area I haven't been before. But what I found is this little guy here. I don't know how well, this right here. It's an old duck blind. And there are some cypress trees right behind it. And I don't know if this is going to work. We'll find out here in a minute. But there's a little bit of green right here. And we're going to see if we can use some of that as our foreground. So the idea being that once it gets dark, our composition might include, we'll look at the composition before it gets dark, might include this. Probably go fairly wide. Get that, get the trees, get a little over it. And what we want to do is do the drone halos and maybe do a couple of halos. One closer in to the duck blind and then come out a little bit and then do another halo and maybe get some of those trees lit up a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But right now, we're going to enjoy the rich humidity that has presented itself, and we're anchored down. So I'm going to get this tripod in the water and get things composed a little bit, and we'll pick it up from there. See you in a second. Okay, I think I have a rough dial in here. It's going to be very difficult to see in the daytime, even from a test shot, because we've got a lot of setting sun back there and you get glare, and that hopefully will be gone by the time we do anything. But just to get a rough idea how wide out we are here, this is kind of where we're sitting right now. You can see we've got a little bit of this in our foreground. I've got to give myself a little bit of extra crop room if I need it. You can see our duck blind in the background, trees behind that. We are shooting wider, so we've got some playroom. I know you've got a lot of, I'll try to stand here and cover some of this up. No, not going to help you. But that's where we're at right now. Typically, we're going to be looking at about ISO 1600, about f7. We'll put it on bulb, and we're going to, when it's time, we'll put the drone in intelligent flight mode and do point of interest and have it circle. Get a shot on that inner circle inside around the duck blind, and then get our next shot with the wider circle, so maybe we can catch some of those trees in the background. Again, we don't know, we'll see. But right now it is thick and it is humid, but you know, all in all, not a bad place to be. There's not much else out here, so it's time to get the mosquito spray on and begin to smell really good. We'll see you after a while.
Okay, so we are back at the computer. The first thing we're going to do is turn all these images around so you can see them a little bit better. You can see that some of these were shot in the daytime as I was checking exposure, so we're not going to use all of these. We're going to go through them one by one and see which ones we want to use and make small corrections here and there. But we want to get all these images brought into Lightroom, and I'll bring these in and just make tiny corrections. Right now I'm just looking for the image I want to use as my sky, just to get some idea of what I want to use back there. And I kind of like the natural look of this almost orange. Then my first thing I want to do really is go back and find what my main subject light's going to be. And I like the one where the drone did not move. You can see the single dot compared to where the drone did the circle around. We were going to keep the circle, but I don't think I'm going to keep that circle because the wind started blowing. But we're going through just to see what we've got, make any tiny corrections we want to do. These are individual shots that I took from the drone. You can see them as it goes from one to the other, how it lights. And the drone, you can see, didn't move. It just stays a single dot up there. But make tiny corrections to these. And then once we pick the ones that we want to use, and we've gone through all these, we will select all those, and we will open those up as layers in Photoshop. And it may take just a moment to get that done. Once we get those layers done and brought into Photoshop, we want to find that one layer that our subject, of course, is the duck blind. We want to find that layer that we like the most on the duck blind, and usually I move that layer to the bottom. And then we'll go through layer by layer, and we'll change the mode to lighten mode on each layer. And again, what that does is allows us just to blend in the lighter portions of each photograph. And it basically does an initial blend. You'll see it as we add layers. You'll start to see all the different portions of all the different shots we made. Nice little smiley face up there. Looks like a face with eyes and mouth. We'll take care of that in a minute. Then we want to create a layer mask. What the layer mask does is it allows us to erase or re-show any portion of any of the images. And then one by one, I just go layer by layer and find what portions, what shows that I like or what I don't like. And then I'll get a black marker and just right over those sections that I don't want to see, since it's looking for the lightest portion of each layer. When I make it black, it doesn't see it. So you see I'm erasing on the little face there. We erase the eyeballs from the drone, and I'll go layer by layer and see what it is I don't like. I'm just going to lighten this layer up just a little bit in those back trees. That far right tree just needed to be brightened up a little bit, but I'm going to lower it also affected this tall tree in the middle. I'm going to decrease that down a little bit with a black brush. And there we go. Now it's balanced out a little more. And then we'll continue to go layer by layer and see what it is we don't like. I don't like all the reflection in the water. Of course, I don't want the halo from the drone in there. So I can start drawing out that halo. There we go. And then I'll get some of that water out of there and just double check and see where it is that I want to take things out from. Sometimes I'll bring the opacity down and just kind of work it through a little bit instead of being 100%. So eventually I get that out. And I can see what the changes are making on that one layer. Then I'll go back to my layer with the halo up here, and I'll get rid of excuse me, some of this on the water. I don't want that white to be in the water because it distracts from my subject. So I'm going to blend that out. And a little bit more out of this foliage here that's floating in the water. And I would have kept the halo, but the wind picked up as soon as I started flying the drone, and you can see corrections that the drone's making to stay steady, and it's just not a good halo, so we're not going to keep that in there. But again, turning the layer on and off, I can see what I want there. I'm going to get rid of the layer a little bit, and we'll go to the next image, the next shot. So I've still got this one drone light up here. I just got to, there it is, and I'll just get rid of that. And see, again, I'm just going back and double checking what it is that I like about each layer that I see and what I don't like. I paint out what I don't like. If I change my mind, I can change it from a black brush to a white brush and then reinstate what it is that I erase, so it's very non-destructive. One thing I do see there is I love the reflection. You don't see it at this moment, but I love the reflection that the back trees are making in the water. But the drone light overpowered that, so I'm going to bring that back in. Just start to fade that reflection back in. You can see the effect of these different layers as we go. And you can see that reflection poking its head out when I turn those layers on and off. And I want that reflection, so I'm going to blend that back in right in here, just to give us some interest in this section of water. I did shoot this at a fairly wide angle vertical, so I'm going to crop out some of the dead areas. I don't need to see all this black at the bottom, and it's okay if I don't see everything at the top. So we're going to take a lot of that out here when we finish this image up, but right now we're just making the image like what we want it with what we have. Once we get everything close to what we want, and it's just my habit, I like to export everything as layers, so I'll have a Photoshop version with all the layers, so I can then go back and make changes again if I want to in the future from where I sit right now, since it is non-destructive. Once I get that Photoshop version saved, I will output a flattened version as a TIFF back into Lightroom, and that's the one that we will work with for now. So once it has that saved version, I will flatten those layers down and get rid of all that. Save one layer as a TIFF version, and that will be the version we will bring back into Lightroom and make our final adjustments like crop, anything like that. Again, mainly because everything is non-destructive. So here it is back in Lightroom. I want to get rid of that area, so I'm going to a square crop probably. I want that interest, that greenage interest, that foliage interest at the bottom. So there's our final crop. And then that's going to be where it sits. I hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you next time. Don't forget we have a podcast coming up starting September 13th, Photography, Parks, and Peoples on iTunes and Spotify. We hope you look for us there. Thanks.